Hey, I'm a little bit sick right now, so sorry if my voice sounds weird throughout the video. Hopefully you can still enjoy it. As we all know by now, the Nintendo Switch has been selling incredibly well over the last decade. In fact, it's on track to being the best-selling console of all time, and because of that, the games have also sold incredibly well. I thought it would be interesting to look at the 10 best-selling Switch games and talk about whether or not they deserve to be that popular, and obviously this is all based on opinions, and you can disagree, yada yada. Let's get into it. The first thing to talk about is the 10th best-selling game on the Switch, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. A lot of people hate this game, not a lot of people love it, and there's a pretty good reason for that, which we should probably mention before anything else. This is a very uniquely unoriginal game, and when I say that, I'm not saying that it's a little bit similar to the other Mario games. There's basically nothing about this game that makes it stand out. The world is the same bland old Mario world that we had been seeing for over 10 years up to this point. All of the power-ups are very unoriginal and hard to remember. There's really nothing about this game that I can point out that makes it different from all the other Mario games. Even when you look at the other New Super Mario Bros. Games, like the original or Wii, you can still point out something that made them special. The original New Super Mario Bros. Brought 2D Mario back to a new audience, and New Super Mario Bros. Wii introduced the multiplayer that made the game so fun. In a lot of ways, this game was just a cash grab for people who wanted 2D Mario on the Switch at the time, and hey, I guess it worked, it sold pretty well, but it's not that great. With all that being said, I still want to point out that New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is a pretty fun game. The new Luigi U game mode was definitely the highlight of this version because it's just so fun and dynamic, arguably better than the original game, and all of the challenges they added make it a lot more replayable. I also do want to say that while the level design is very bland and not that good, it's still pretty fun, especially if you grab some friends or family to play it with. Considering there are other 2D platforms on the Switch like Rayman Legends or Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, should this game have sold so well? Probably not, but it's not the worst. The next game to talk about, which has sold over 20 million copies, is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. People have pointed out, especially recently, that Tears of the Kingdom does have its problems. The storytelling is weird, the sage abilities are poorly designed, the puzzles aren't the best, but regardless, I still think it's a great game. Running around, seeing what the world has to offer, experimenting with Ultra Hand and Fuse, this game may not be the most deep, it may not be the most important, but it's one of the most fun. I have over 130 hours into this game, possibly closer to 150, and I still can't really pin down why I liked the game so much, but I did, and I would be lying if I said that I didn't. If there's anything really bad to say about the game, I guess it would be that there is very little replay value, and honestly, you play it once and never play it again. I remember earlier this year I tried to replay this game, and quite frankly, I just wasn't having very much fun. The combat was kinda boring, I didn't enjoy exploring the world as much, everything felt the same, and because this game is so focused on the novelty of exploration and finding new stuff and experimenting, once you've already done that and there's no story left for you, what do you have left? Replaying this game definitely made my opinion on it a little bit worse, but regardless, I still think it's an amazing game, and I do think it deserved all the success it got. The next game to talk about, with nearly 21 million copies sold, is Super Mario Party. I don't dislike a lot of Switch games, I don't dislike a lot of games in general, and I can probably count on my fingers how many Switch games I would like to refund. This is one of them. This game has so many problems. The forced Joy-Cons were super annoying, the buddy system was terribly designed. Where was the board variety? I don't see it. The thing is, this game actually has a lot of really cool ideas. The buddy system in particular could be great, it just wasn't, which is why I'm actually very excited to purchase the sequel. Mario Party Superstars released a few years after this game, and it is a much better Mario Party experience. I would 100% get that one over this game. It's beating a dead horse at this point to talk about Super Mario Party being disappointing, because I know a lot of people have already talked about it, so let's move on. The next game to talk about, the 7th best-selling game on the entire Nintendo Switch, is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Pokemon always surprises me because people don't really talk about these games that much, so it's hard to remember. These are some of the best-selling Nintendo games ever. But yeah, here we are. Of the 10 best-selling Nintendo Switch games, this is actually the only one that I haven't beat start to finish, so I don't know that much about the game, but from what I played, it wasn't that bad. It probably says something about the game itself that I played it for about an hour and then got bored and never picked it up again. But hey, I'm not gonna hate on it, I haven't beaten it. Like I said, I haven't beat the game, so I'm not gonna say anything. Let's move on to the one Pokemon game on the Switch that I have beaten, Pokemon Sword and Shield. This is the 6th best-selling Nintendo Switch game, and also probably the most hated. A lot of people have said that this is the worst Pokemon game, this is the worst game on the Switch, and maybe this is a little crazy, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. I did have some big issues with the game, like there being way too much dialogue, and the wild area being disappointing, the Pokemon designs not being the best, but regardless, it was an okay game. I haven't played this game in a couple of years, so maybe there are a few things that I'm forgetting, but from what I can remember, it was some basic, dumb fun, nothing crazy, nothing special, but it was fun. I think a lot of the hate for this game comes from the fact that it was just very overhyped. I remember the trailers were so cool, people were very excited, and it ended up just being an okay experience that you play once and then never play again. This game certainly doesn't deserve to be one of the best-selling Switch games ever, but it is overhated. Now we're getting to the real games, the top 5 best-selling games on the entire Switch, starting with Super Mario Odyssey. This game may not be as original as a lot of the other 3D Mario games, but it is one of the best. It really polished everything up, from the movement, to the characters, to the different worlds, even to the music. It's just perfect. This is one of those games where just moving around the world and experimenting with different movement options is half the fun, and honestly, I just wish there were some more real challenges. If we got some more difficult areas like the Darker Side of the Moon, which really took advantage of the great platforming and movement, this would be one of the best games out there, but even without that, it basically is. Even beyond the main quest, this game basically has everything to offer. You've got this awesome Luigi's Balloon game mode, the game has over 800 unique moons, all of which are pretty fun to collect. This is definitely one of my favorite games on the Switch, possibly my favorite Switch exclusive ever, and there's not much more to say than that. It's basically a perfect game, and let's move on. The next game to talk about is the one, the only, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, the 4th best-selling game on the Switch. This game really was something special when it came out. In 2017 and 2018, there were no games that captured the same feeling as this, and people might look at it now and say it has some problems, and they might be right, but they just don't get it. In terms of exploration, this is one of the best games out there. The world is so massive, there are so many different side quests, so many different interesting characters and items to discover. The sense of adventure in this game is captured by basically nothing else. Some of my best memories from video games ever comes from Breath of the Wild, just riding my horse through Hyrule Field, listening to the faint music in the background, discovering each divine beast, finding all of the other little secrets. It was all so exciting. To many people, this is the best Switch game, and I know that for a lot of people, it's impacted them very heavily. And while I may not agree with it being the best Switch game overall, I definitely think it's up there. The sense of discovery, the epic, beautiful music, the great quests, all of it really combined to make a fantastic game that I will love probably for the rest of my life. The next game to talk about, the 3rd best-selling game on the Switch, is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is my most played Switch game by far. I have over 400 hours in my account alone. There are so many different characters with different fun moves and awesome balancing, and with that being said, the game kinda sucks. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is best enjoyed with a few friends, some items on, nothing special, just casual gameplay with your favorite Nintendo characters. But when you eventually get better at the game and want to find some real competition and play with fair rules, that's when you realize this game is such nonsense. This is a very campy game, and if you don't believe me, look at the best character universally praised for being so broken, Steve Minecraft. What does he do? He just places blocks, spams minecart, and runs away the entire time, and guess what? It works! Or look at Sonic, also considered to be one of the best characters in the game. You know what Sonic does? This is what Sonic does. It's like Julius Caesar said, don't blame the player, blame the game, and hey, I'm in Kazuya, I have no place to stand. This game is very frustrating if you try to play it in any serious or competitive way, so my suggestion, if you want fun competitive Smash Bros, just go to Melee. With all that complaining out of the way, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is still a pretty fun game. The single player mode is alright, playing with friends is still pretty fun, it has some wacky mechanics that are actually pretty interesting, and as a casual experience, it's actually a really good game. Does it deserve to be one of the best selling Switch games with how unbalanced and frustrating it is to play at a high level? Probably not, but it's still pretty good. Moving on to a much simpler and cozier game is Animal Crossing New Horizons, the second best-selling game on the Switch with over 45 million copies sold. This is a very relaxing game, you know, one of those games where you wake up, maybe you'll play it for a couple of hours, come back here late at night and just play it over and over again and lose track of the time. It's very immersive. I remember a few years ago with the pandemic, this was everybody's game. They just played it all the time, 24/7, and I see why. With that being said, I don't really see what Animal Crossing New Horizons has to offer that other games don't, even compared to other Animal Crossing games like New Leaf or any of the others. Sure, this game has some neat characters and some interesting mechanics now and then, but I don't really see anything that makes this game stand out amongst all of the rest. If anything, this game is a lot slower than the other games like it, and the only way to actually make it fast is to time skip, which completely breaks the immersion. As much as I respect this game because I know a lot of people who love it, I can never really get into it, and we'll leave it at that. The last game to talk about is the best-selling game on the Switch, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and what is there to say? What's great about this game is that it's nearly perfect on its own, but it's also an amazing improvement to the previous version on the Wii U. The new DLC with all of the different courses and characters was incredibly well done and executed perfectly, and the battle mode is 10 times more fun and enjoyable than it was before. The real reason this game is so great is because you can play it at a very low level and you can still enjoy it. For example, you can play it with your friends or family who don't even play games and they'll get it, or you could play at a very high level and it'll be just as fun. This may not be the single best game on the Switch, but does it deserve to be the best selling? Absolutely. It's very user friendly, but also very welcoming to people who want a challenge. And that's the end of the video. Clearly you liked it since you've made it this far, so remember to like it and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Hopefully in a week or two, we'll see. And yeah, bye bye.